wasn't like that. So the Roman church was quite happy also to see the end of monastic church, because the monastic church wouldn't give any money to Rome. So a stronger parochial church means more revenue coming to Rome, and also means that the church that is in Ireland is more controlled by Rome. A church of monasteries is only a church of each monastery, right? So it suited Irish chieftains.
But are they answerable to their order?
Only to the abbot of their order. So the abbot of Clonmacnoise, all the monasteries affiliated with Clonmacnoise are answerable to the abbot of Clonmacnoise.
Abbot and Costello, yeah.
So it's a very, the bigger the monastery, the bigger the influence. The abbot could be a very influential person if he has a big. Abbot of Clonmacnoise was like extremely, influential person. But abbot in this monastery would be very small, and his wealth and power wouldn't be in the same power, same big. But what happens is that the Irish monastic church, the reason why it is the way it is today is because it was replaced by the parochial church, and the parochial church then became the main church in Ireland. The monastic church died out, so now Clonmacnoise is just a shell and ruins of churches, 7 churches, all ruined. You know what I mean? If the monastic church had adopted the parochial structure and converted to parochialism, our parish churches would probably be in monasteries all over Ireland rather than being ruins, but they didn't, and that's why the parish church is much stronger than monastic churches, and that's why these are all, a lot of these are ruins. But these would have been magnificent structures, and all these walls would have been whitewashed, and all of these walls would be covered in wall paintings, right? And the wall paintings would all be scenes of Bible stories. So when the sermon was being heard, the people wouldn't understand stories of Holy Land, the Holy Land, Jerusalem, but they'd see pictures of Jerusalem on the walls, and that's what they'd be looking at. So this whole building would be covered in whitewash. You see traces of the render over the stones. That's the original render over the buildings. All whitewashed. You see no stone, all whitewashed, roofed, and then it's paintings, and the multicolored paintings. So when the priest was talking about the crucifixion, there'd be a picture of the crucifixion for people to see, And so they'd be able to visualize Mary and visualize Jesus and all the people in the Bible stories. So when we look at these, that's what we got to kind of see. And you'll see some of the original wall paintings in, you go to Holy Cross Abbey in Tipperary, you will see some of the original wall paintings still to be seen to this day. There's only a little bit left, See, this building is a rubble stone building, and there's no waterproofing between the outside. It's just a rubble building, so water pours through from the outside to the inside. So to stop that, you have to render outside and inside. So it's externally rendered outside and internally rendered. So this building, when seen from outside, would have been a whitewashed building, and when the sunlight would hit it, it would be lovely. If you ever see a whitewashed cottage, and when it gets wet and then the sunlight hits all dappled colours and stuff like that, that's what you'd see on the outside. Then you come inside and this would be whitewashed and there'd be paintings on it. There'd be a big, what we call a rood screen. There'd be a big screen where that goes to the east end of the church to the altar. There'd be a big wooden barrier, and on the wooden barrier would be the crucifix, and the crucifix would be the Christ on the cross. That's known as the rood screen. And the people coming to hear Mass wouldn't be allowed beyond. That's why there's a division. It's called a chancel. And the nave, the west end of the church is the nave, east end of the church is the chancel. The chancel comes from the Latin word caselli, which means grill, which means there was a screen across. And only the clergy were allowed into the east end of the church, and only the parishioners are allowed into the west end of the church. The nave is from a boat, so you're going on a journey into the nave, the navis, and the clergy are in the east end. And that's why in Vatican II to get rid of that division between. But that's why in 16th century Protestants got rid of that division between having a division between the clergy and the lay people. And the church here, all these arches, this archway would have had a screen across it as well, and this would be, so from time to time, there'd be private masses said here for families who paid for this building. This building would have been paid for by families who paid for mass. It wouldn't be paid for by the monks. It would be paid for the family. And the families that would pay for it would then come here to hear private mass without any parishioners in the way. Come in here, have a private mass, and there would be an altar somewhere there. And then when those people would die, once by mass, we all know once by mass, they would pay in their will for loads of mass to be said. And every couple of months the boys would come out here and say a mass for the souls and deceased of the families. And they get more money for it. But that's that. And in medieval times, only a limited number of people were saved. So there was a number put on it, a couple of 10,000 people, I think was that. 10,000, I think, at the time was the number, right? So in the medieval times, it was only the chosen few were saved. So salvation, the message of Christianity, wasn't that salvation for all, it was salvation for the chosen.
The wealthy.
Well, that's what the wealthy like to think. You know, that's what they were buying, was trying to buy their salvation. That's what they thought. That's, you know, the church didn't exactly say that, but didn't turn them away either. And to build these structures, you have to build with money. You can't build this and pay for the timber, the roofs, the render. This render has to be made. This is all lime render. And each bit of render has to be made in a lime kiln. It's a huge amount. So to build this building, you have to have a tradesman. A huge amount. It's a big building site. But you have people who make lime, people who make timber for the roofs, people who do leading for the windows, stained glass makers for the stained glass window. There's a whole range of craftsmen that feed off a building like this. So when this building is being built, it attracts those tradesmen into Dungarvan. So this stimulates the economy. So, you know, that's what you're looking at. You know. So it's kind of hard to figure it out today, like, you know, what it looks like. Some of these holes here, the lower holes are put-log holes from this wooden scaffolding, and then when they're finished, as they build the wall up, you can only build so many courses with lime mortar because that needs to be settled. And this here, see this line here? That's kind of a leveling course. As they get up to a course, they stop because lime mortar takes a long time to harden and cure. So, and you can't build in winter time because lime won't set below a certain temperature. So they go up so high, let the building set, then go up another bit, go up another bit, another bit. And these put-log holes, as they go up, they need wooden platforms to build on. So what they do is when they get up here, they just stick some timber beams in and put a plank across, and that's a wooden platform. They get up on it then and they build the next course, and then they put the next one. And then when they're finished, they take away the wooden scaffolding, and they're the wooden scaffolding holes that you see there. And sometimes they build them in, sometimes not. You know?
Thank you.
So, you know, it's hard to visualize it, you know.
You should have been a bit.
Well, to build in lime mortar, I mean, if you see people building in lime mortar, it's amazing. And what's unfortunate about Ireland, it's kind of the story of Ireland, is our grandfathers could build in lime mortar. And it's only when Portland cement became fashionable that we gave up all our lime kilns in the countryside. Every farmyard had a lime kiln. Every farmer made his own lime. No, my great-great-grandfather made his own lime his own farm. There's lime kiln on the farm, right? And no, I don't have a clue about lime. My father doesn't have a clue. Huh? I mean, the majority, a lot of farms. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. If you look at the
big farmers had them around here.
ordnance survey maps, you just see them all littered all over the place. See, a lime mortar, lime was so important to farmers. What happened was that you make lime from burning limestone, right? You get lime mortar to bond your wall. All thatched cottages are built with lime mortar, right? To bond the walls. But what else do you get from lime? You get the lime wash to make your plaster, your whitewash. So you also get, for lime, you get lime to put in the soil to change the acidity of the soil as well. So what you do is you get a fertilizer and you get a building product out of it, and you get a waterproofing thing. So it's it's the material. And what happened was that we gave up our traditional building skills in Ireland, our thatching, lime making, everything, and adopted the new.
This one of the great country for lime, like in the middle direction out by Shannon. They have the right lime kilns, but they're not to that side of the country.
Yeah. And now if you want to get a lime worker, if you want to get somebody who's skilled in working lime, you can't get them.
Holland.
Yeah, the Eastern Europeans might be the only people, because they didn't give up their traditional building skills because they couldn't afford to buy Portland cement. Portland cement really is the thing that killed lime, you know. So, and then what happens is that we forget about it, and we repair our buildings with cement. And the worst thing you can do is repair a thatched cottage or any building built with lime and cement, because lime lets the building breathe. Yeah. It lets this wall, these joints, the joint between there and there, the gaps, see those gaps? They actually close and they narrow and open as the seasons. So in the winter time, when it's very wet, it absorbs the moisture, right? And in the summertime then, it throws the moisture out. And the gaps between the joints move up and down, up and down, up and down. And what happens is, people say, oh, geez, I'll fix the building up with concrete. So you put cement up along it, outside of it. Now the building can't let water out or in. So what happens is, the joints are still trying to move because there's still moisture in the core of the wall. They still want to move, but they can't move because concrete's on it. And what happens then is that pressure builds up on the wall, and so what happens is it goes over archways, and you get structural cracks, which appear in the building because the building is trying to tear itself apart. So that's why we say don't use modern materials to repair traditional buildings. Use traditional materials to repair traditional buildings for that reason. So if you repair a thatched cottage and if you look over a window or a doorway and you see structural cracks, it's because they've used modern materials to replace them. And they'll also get weeping walls. You go into a thatched cottage and you see all the weeping walls and you put your hand on it and it's wet. That's because they've put in concrete floor.